Waitress Lucy saved a bleeding stranger at her diner, then donated her rare blood to keep him alive at the hospital, asking for nothing in return. 2 weeks later, Billionaire CEO Alexander Reed walked back into her life with a proposal that would change everything she thought possible. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Lucy Martinez wiped down the counter of Mike's diner for what felt like the 100th time that evening. It was nearly midnight, and the small restaurant was empty except for the soft hum of the coffee machine and the distant sound of traffic on the highway. She had been working double shifts for 3 weeks straight, trying to save enough money for her younger brother's college tuition. At 25, Lucy had been supporting her family since their parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. Her brother Carlos was brilliant, a straight-A student who had earned a full scholarship to engineering school. But scholarships didn't cover everything, and Lucy was determined that nothing would stop Carlos from achieving his dreams. The bell above the diner door chimed, and Lucy looked up to see a man stumbling through the entrance. He was well dressed in an expensive suit, but something was clearly wrong. His face was pale and he was pressing a blood-soaked cloth to his side. "Help!" he gasped before collapsing onto the floor. Lucy rushed around the counter, her waitressing experience forgotten as her first aid training from high school kicked in. The man had been in some kind of accident, there was a deep gash on his side and he was losing blood fast. "Sir, can you hear me?" Lucy knelt beside him, applying pressure to the wound with clean dish towels. "I'm calling 911. The ambulance arrived within minutes, but the paramedics looked grim as they loaded the unconscious man onto a stretcher. "Ma'am, you probably saved his life by applying pressure to that wound," one of the paramedics told Lucy. "He's lost a lot of blood. We're taking him to St. Mary's Hospital." Lucy nodded, watching as the ambulance disappeared into the night. She spent the rest of her shift cleaning up the blood and worrying about the stranger. When her replacement arrived at 6 a.m., Lucy made an impulsive decision. Instead of going home to sleep, she drove to St. Mary's Hospital. "I'm looking for information about a man who was brought in early this morning," Lucy told the receptionist. "Car accident victim, I think. I was the one who found him." The receptionist checked her computer. "Are you family?" "No, but I wanted to make sure he was okay. I can't give out specific information, but I can tell you he's in surgery. It might be a while." Lucy sat in the waiting room, dozing fitfully in an uncomfortable plastic chair. She couldn't explain why she felt so connected to this stranger, but something compelled her to stay. 3 hours later, a doctor approached her. "Are you here about John Doe from the early morning accident?" "Yes, is he going to be okay?" The doctor's expression was serious. "He's stable, but he's lost a dangerous amount of blood. We need to do a transfusion immediately, but we're running low on his blood type. It's AB negative, very rare. We've called all our regular donors, but—" "What blood type did you say?" Lucy interrupted. "AB negative. Less than 1% of the population has it." Lucy stood up quickly. "I have AB negative blood. I can donate." The doctor's eyes widened. "Are you sure? When was your last donation?" 3 months ago. I donate regularly at the blood bank downtown." Within an hour, Lucy was lying on a hospital bed, watching her blood flow through a tube that would help save the stranger's life. The irony wasn't lost on her. She barely had enough money to feed herself properly, but she was giving her literal life force to help someone she'd never met. "The patient is very lucky you were there," the nurse said as she monitored the donation. "Not just at the diner but here too. AB-negative donors are hard to find, especially on short notice." After the donation, Lucy felt dizzy and weak, but she refused to leave until she knew the stranger was okay. The doctor found her in the waiting room an hour later. "The transfusion was successful," he said with a smile. "You saved his life twice today." Lucy smiled weakly, the exhaustion from her double shift and the blood donation finally catching up with her. "Can I see him?" "He's still unconscious, but you can peek in for a moment." The man lay in the hospital bed, looking peaceful despite the machines monitoring his vital signs. He appeared to be in his early 30s with dark hair and strong features. Lucy felt that strange pull again as if she was meant to be there. "Get some rest," the nurse told Lucy gently. "He's going to be fine thanks to you." Lucy finally went home and slept for 12 hours straight. When she woke up, she realized she hadn't even gotten the man's name. But life moved on, she had bills to pay and a brother to support. 2 weeks later, Lucy was working her usual evening shift when a black sedan pulled up outside the diner. She watched curiously as a man in a perfectly tailored suit stepped out. Her heart skipped when she recognized him. It was the accident victim, looking healthy and very much alive. Behind him came two other men, also in expensive suits, and a woman carrying a briefcase. They looked completely out of place in Mike's humble diner. The man approached the counter, his eyes fixed on Lucy. "Are you Lucy Martinez?" "Yes," she said nervously. "How do you know my name?" "I'm Alexander Reed," he said, extending his hand. "I believe you saved my life 2 weeks ago." Lucy shook his hand, still confused. "I'm glad you're okay. How did you find me?" "The hospital told me what you did, both at the diner and at the hospital. I had to find you to say thank you." Lucy smiled, relieved that he was well. "You don't need to thank me. Anyone would have done the same thing." Alexander's expression grew serious. "Actually, they wouldn't have. And that's why I'm here." He gestured to his companions. "This is my lawyer, my financial advisor, and my assistant. We need to talk." Lucy felt a flutter of panic. "Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong at the hospital?" "Quite the opposite," Alexander said with a smile. "Lucy, do you know who I am?" "Alexander Reed? That's all I know." One of the other diners, an older man reading a newspaper, looked up at the mention of the name. His eyes widened and he whispered to his wife, who turned to stare. "Lucy," Alexander said gently, "I'm the CEO of Reed Industries. Maybe you've heard of it?" Lucy's face went blank. "I'm sorry, I don't really follow business news." The woman with the briefcase, Alexander's assistant, leaned forward. "Reed Industries is one of the largest tech companies in the world. Mr. Reed is worth approximately $12 billion. Lucy sat down heavily on the stool behind the counter. $12 billion. "That's why I'm here," Alexander said. "You saved the life of one of the richest men in America, and you did it without knowing who I was or expecting anything in return. That kind of selflessness is incredibly rare." "I would have done the same for anyone," Lucy said honestly. "I know. That's exactly what makes you so extraordinary." Alexander sat down at the counter, ignoring the curious stares from the few other customers. "Lucy, tell me about yourself. What are your dreams? What would you do if money wasn't an issue?" Lucy laughed nervously. "Why do you want to know?" "Because I want to make you an offer. But first, I want to understand who you are." Over the next hour, Lucy found herself telling Alexander about her life, about losing her parents, about working multiple jobs to support Carlos, about her dreams of maybe going to nursing school someday but knowing she couldn't afford it. Alexander listened intently, asking thoughtful questions and showing genuine interest in her story. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Lucy, I have a proposal for you." "What kind of proposal?" Alexander's assistant opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick document. "I want to offer you a job." "A job?" Lucy was confused. "What kind of job?" "I don't have any business experience." "You have something more valuable than experience," Alexander said. "You have integrity, compassion, and the ability to make life or death decisions under pressure. I need someone like you in my organization." He slid the document across the counter. "I'm offering you a position as Director of Community Outreach for Reed Industries. Your job would be to oversee our charitable giving and community programs. The starting salary is $200,000 per year, plus benefits." Lucy stared at the paper, the numbers swimming before her eyes. $200,000? "That's just the beginning," Alexander continued. "I'm also prepared to establish a $2 million scholarship fund for students like your brother, kids who have academic excellence but need financial support. You would help choose the recipients." Lucy felt like she couldn't breathe. "I don't understand. Why are you doing this?" Alexander's expression grew earnest. "Because 2 weeks ago you showed me what real value looks like. I've been surrounded by people who want things from me my entire adult life. Money, connections, opportunities. But you gave me the most precious thing anyone can give, your blood, literally, and you asked for nothing in return. But this is too much. I can't accept." "There's more," Alexander interrupted gently. "I'm also prepared to pay for your nursing school education, if that's still something you want to pursue. You could work for Reed Industries while studying, and we'd cover all your expenses." Lucy looked around the diner, at the cracked vinyl booths, the outdated equipment, the life she'd known for 5 years. Then she looked at Alexander, this stranger who was offering to change everything. "Why do you trust me?" she asked. "You don't really know me." "I know enough," Alexander said. "I know you risk your own safety to help strangers. I know you give your blood to save someone you've never met. I know you work double shifts to pay for your brother's education. Those aren't things you can fake." Lucy was quiet for a long time, thinking about Carlos, about her dreams, about the opportunity being offered to her. "If I take this job," she said slowly, "I want to make sure I earn it. I don't want charity." Alexander smiled. "That's exactly the answer I was hoping for. This isn't charity, Lucy. This is me investing in someone who has already proven their worth." 6 months later, Lucy stood in the conference room of Reed Industries, presenting the quarterly report on their community programs. She wore a professional suit instead of a diner uniform, and her hair was styled rather than pulled back in a simple ponytail. But her warm smile and genuine concern for others remained unchanged. Under Lucy's direction, Reed Industries had launched several new initiatives: a scholarship program that had already helped 50 students, a blood drive program in partnership with local hospitals, and a small business loan program for entrepreneurs in underserved communities. "The blood drive program has been particularly successful," Lucy reported to the board of directors. "We've collected over 500 units of blood in the past 3 months, including 12 units of rare types like AB negative. Alexander, who was chairing the meeting, smiled at the mention of AB negative blood. After the meeting, he asked Lucy to stay behind. "How are you settling in?" he asked as the other board members filed out. "It's amazing," Lucy said honestly. "I never imagined I could make this kind of impact. The scholarship recipients, seeing their faces when they get the good news, it's incredible." "And Carlos? How's he doing?" Lucy beamed. "He's thriving. His professors say he's one of the most promising engineering students they've ever had. He wants to design sustainable energy systems to help developing countries." "Sounds like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree," Alexander observed. "Both Martinez siblings are determined to make the world a better place." Over the months, Lucy and Alexander had developed a strong working relationship. He valued her insights and genuine perspective, while she appreciated his vision and resources for making large-scale change. But lately, Lucy had begun to notice something else in their interactions: a warmth that went beyond professional respect. "Lucy," Alexander said, his voice slightly nervous, "can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. Are you happy? I mean really happy." "Not just professionally but personally." Lucy considered the question. "I'm grateful every day for the opportunities you've given me. But if I'm being honest, sometimes I feel like something is missing." "What do you think it is?" Lucy looked at Alexander, really looked at him. Over the past 6 months, she'd seen him not just as the billionaire CEO, but as a man who genuinely cared about making a positive impact. She'd watched him tear up when they visited scholarship recipients, seen him work late into the night on community programs, and noticed how he treated every employee with respect regardless of their position. "I think," Lucy said carefully, "it's the same thing that was missing from your life before the accident." Alexander stepped closer. "And what's that?" "Someone who cares about you for who you are, not what you have." Alexander reached for Lucy's hand. "Lucy, these past 6 months have been the best of my life. Not because of business success or financial growth, but because I get to work alongside someone who makes me want to be a better person." Lucy felt her heart racing. "Alexander, I know this is complicated. I'm your boss, I changed your life, there's a power imbalance." "Alexander," Lucy interrupted, squeezing his hand. "Do you remember what I told you about why I donated blood? You said anyone would have done the same." "I lied," Lucy admitted with a smile. "The truth is, I felt connected to you from the moment I saw you in the diner. I couldn't explain it then and I can't explain it now. But sitting in that hospital, watching my blood flow into your body, I felt like I was giving you part of my soul." Alexander's eyes widened. "Lucy, are you saying?" "I'm saying that the best decision I ever made wasn't taking this job. It was choosing to stay at the hospital that night. Because that's when I realized that sometimes the most important connections happen when we're willing to give part of ourselves to someone else." Alexander cupped Lucy's face in his hands. "I love you. I've been afraid to say it because I didn't want you to think it was about gratitude or obligation." "I love you too," Lucy whispered. "And it has nothing to do with money or jobs or any of that. I love the man who sends handwritten thank you notes to scholarship recipients. I love the CEO who learns the names of janitors and cafeteria workers. I love the person who uses his wealth to lift others up instead of building walls around himself." They kissed in the conference room, surrounded by charts and graphs that represented all the good they'd accomplished together. It was a kiss that tasted like second chances and blood donations, like late nights and early mornings, like two people who had found something rare and precious in each other. A year later, Lucy and Alexander were married in a small ceremony at St. Mary's Hospital, in the same chapel where Lucy had waited during Alexander's surgery. Instead of traditional wedding favors, they asked guests to consider becoming blood donors. The hospital staff who had witnessed their first meeting were invited to the wedding, including the paramedic who had told Lucy she'd saved Alexander's life, and the nurse who had monitored Lucy's blood donation. "It's like a fairy tale," the nurse commented during the reception. "Girl saves prince, prince falls in love with girl." "Not quite," Lucy corrected with a smile, watching Alexander dance with Carlos, who was home from college for the wedding. "Two people saved each other. I gave him my blood and he gave me the chance to become who I was meant to be. And now..." Lucy looked around at the reception, at scholarship recipients who had become like family, at Reed Industries employees who had become genuine friends, at her brother who was thriving in school, and at her new husband who was spinning one of the young scholarship recipients around the dance floor. "Now we're building something together. Not just a marriage but a legacy. Every scholarship we award, every program we fund, every life we touch, it all started with a simple choice to help a stranger." The nurse smiled. "What advice would you give to young people about making a difference?" Lucy thought about that night in the diner, about the split-second decision to help someone who needed it, about the choice to donate blood without expecting anything in return. "I tell them that you never know when a small act of kindness will change everything. Not just for the person you're helping but for yourself too. Sometimes the best investments we make aren't financial, they're investments of our time, our energy, and our compassion." As the evening wound down, Alexander found Lucy on the hospital balcony, looking out at the city lights. "Any regrets?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Lucy leaned back against his chest, feeling his heartbeat, steady and strong, pumped by blood that had once flowed through her own veins. "Just one," she said. "What's that?" "I regret that it took a car accident for us to meet. But then again, maybe that's the only way it could have happened. Maybe you needed to lose everything, your blood, your strength, your sense of invincibility, to find what really mattered." Alexander kissed the top of her head. "And what's that?" "Love. Connection. The knowledge that we're all just people, regardless of how much money we have or what titles we hold. We all bleed the same red blood and we all need each other." They stood together in comfortable silence, two people who had learned that the most valuable things in life couldn't be bought or sold. They could only be given freely with an open heart and the faith that love, like blood, has the power to sustain life itself. Years later, when people asked Lucy about her incredible love story, she always told them the same thing. "It wasn't about the money or the proposal. It was about the moment I chose to give part of myself to a stranger, and discovered that sometimes what we give away freely comes back to us multiplied beyond our wildest dreams." The Lucy Martinez Scholarship Fund eventually helped thousands of students achieve their educational goals. The Reed Industries Blood Drive program became a model for corporate social responsibility nationwide. And the love story of a waitress and a billionaire became proof that the most powerful force in the world isn't wealth or status. It's the simple human capacity to care for one another, especially when there's nothing to gain except the knowledge that we've made someone else's life a little better. In the end, Lucy's decision to donate blood to a stranger wasn't just about saving a life. It was about discovering that true wealth comes not from what we accumulate, but from what we're willing to give away.